a steady stream of information coming into our mind. What we're doing is we're taking little tiny snapshots of our environment, and then our mind kind of pieces that together. And so in driving response with respect to emergency situation, it's very much instinct. It's not something that's learned. It's not something that you sit there and calculate in your mind. It's almost like a knee-jerk reaction. Now, the good thing about that is that you will react relatively quickly. But there are some limitations to that. And I want to give you an example. Let's say you're driving this vehicle right here, and all of a sudden a deer pops up. Comes from the ditch, from the right to the left, and you have to react right away. What do? Do you go straight, hold on to the steering wheel, close your eyes, and hope for the best? Do you swerve left? Do you swerve right? So who says straight? Your quick knee-jerk reaction without thinking. Deer pops up. Who goes straight? Hands? A couple of people. Who would turn left? Okay. Who would turn right? Who would turn right? So about an even number. So research tells us that you always steer away from your hazard. So most people, if they're faced with this situation, their immediate reaction is to steer to the left. This is something in psychology called difference reduction. It's behavioral psychology. If anybody here watches boxing or mixed martial arts, when someone throws a punch at someone's face, nobody brings their cheek close to it. Take your cheek away, right? But if you actually break this down a little bit, even though the vast majority of people would turn left, it's actually really stupid. Because what you're doing is you're following the deer, and you can hit it. But that's what I mean by the limitations of us as drivers. Our natural reaction is to steer left, even though that's actually, if you break it down and analyze it, it's not really the smartest thing to do. Just to show you a real-world example, and I should say this, you're going to see a few videos that are accidents. This is another one. You're going to see this red vehicle that's making a left-hand turn that's going to just clip a motorcycle. Don't worry, the motorcyclist or the rider seems to be okay because he gets up. But I want to show this to you. I just want to play this one more time, and I want to pause it. Do you see what the motorcyclist did? Right? A hazard's coming from the left to the right. He veers right to try to avoid it. But an accident reconstructionist might say, well, you know what? If you actually turn left instead, this vehicle would have just got out of your path. But that's not how we behave as humans. When we have half a second to react, we're not thinking, okay, let me do the math, let me figure this out, and should I turn right, should I turn left? It's very reactive. Right? So it's something important to keep in mind. Because if you're speeding, you don't have as much distance and time to react. Okay? This is just a little bit of research that tells you that when you're presented with a hazard, about 2/3 of people, 66%, their first reaction is to get on the brakes. That's their first reaction. And about 20% of people, your very first reaction is to steer your steering wheel. And then about 3 to 5% people's first reaction is to honk on the horn. And that's usually to yell at the other driver. So one of the things that's important with respect to driver behavior and inattentiveness is something called perception reaction time or perception response time. And perception response time is basically how much time does it take for you to react to a hazard. Whether it's a vehicle that blew a stop sign, whether it's a pedestrian that ran out on the road, how fast does it take for you to actually react to that hazard? And there's a number of different things. I'm not going to get into them. But there's a number of things that affect that value. Research tells you that you could react in a really good scenario, the ideal situation, you will react in about 0.8 seconds. In a really not ideal situation, let's say it's really, really dark, you can barely make out the pedestrian who ran across the road, for example, you can take up to 2 seconds to react. Okay? And again, there's a number of different things that affect that. Again, I'm not going to get into them, but some of them that I'll point out are things like, a visual cue where you made aware of this. So an example is if I took this clicker and I did this for you. I didn't throw it, but just by going like this, all of a sudden this gentleman was anticipating that I was going to throw it. But what if I'm looking at the screen and all of a sudden I throw it like this? It's the exact same hazard, but he's going to have a different reaction time, right? And that's why it's important to be very attentive on the road, because there can be so many different things that are taking away your attention. So I do want to play one quick game with everyone here. I'm going to play a video. Some of you might have seen this. And what you're going to see is you're going to see people that are dressed in white shirts and black shirts. The people that are wearing white shirts are going to be passing a basketball. And your job is to count how many times the players that are wearing white t-shirts pass a basketball. Okay? $14? Any other guesses? 16? 14? 15? Okay. $15. Anybody not see a gorilla? Okay, so there's a few people who are like, no, I didn't see a gorilla at all. Okay. So we're very bad at multitasking. Men are much worse than women. My wife is sitting there. She can attest to it and say I'm a terrible multitasker. And it's the same reason why when you are driving if you're driving the car and you have your friend, your family member sitting next to you and they're shouting, watch out, watch out, watch out. And you're like, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden, something presents itself as a hazard. And that's because you as a driver, you are focused on so many different things, from driving the car to obeying traffic signals and looking at your GPS and all these different things. And that takes away from your attention. So it's very important to be as attentive as possible when you're driving a vehicle. Ignore your cell phone. Ignore the radio. Ignore your kids who are yelling in the back at you. It is absolutely critical to try to be as attentive as possible while you're driving your vehicle. So I want to go through just a couple of quick definitions because I'm going to get into something called speed change. So impact speed is the speed of the vehicles at impact. And a lot of people think speed kills. You see signs on the road, slow down, speed kills. And it's true, speed is a factor. But it isn't speed that actually kills. It's something called speed change. That's what hurts. So speed change is how much speed changed in the vehicle from immediately before to immediately after the collision. Okay? So let's just say I came down here on the 401 and I told you I was rear-ended at 150 kilometers an hour. You would say, how are you standing up here giving this presentation? But what if I was driving 149 kilometers an hour and the person rear-ends me at 150? It's the same thing as me being stopped at a stop sign and someone comes in at 1 kilometer an hour. Not too bad of a hit. So yes, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can go ahead and speed. That's not what I'm saying. I want to give you an example of how, I'm just going to fast forward through this. There's a crash test that we conducted. We like to do a lot of testing. And so what we did is we did a head-on crash test between two Chevy Malibus. And I want to show you the damage on the vehicles. So here's the damage to the two vehicles. Lots of damage, very severe collision. But the impact speed was just 45 kilometers an hour. That's residential speed. essentially. So if you're in a residential zone thinking, I'm only doing 45, let me just look down on my phone, and all of a sudden you cross the lane and hit someone head on, you might think 45 kilometers an hour, not that big of a deal. But look at the damage that's caused. That's a serious, serious accident. Okay. I want to close off by talking about seatbelt safety. In my job, all I see is time and time again, one accident after another, after another. And one of the unfortunate things is when we do see when seatbelts aren't being used. And one of the common misconceptions, and I actually spoke with my father about this the other day when I was having dinner at his house. He said, I need to be in the habit of putting my seatbelt on when I'm in the back seat. I always put it on in the front, but never in the back seat. But it is so dangerous to be in the back seat without a seatbelt. And it's not because of your own safety. You actually become the most dangerous person in the vehicle. If you don't have a seatbelt and you're in the back seat, and let's say the driver crashes into a pole, the vehicle comes to a stop, everybody has a seatbelt on, they come to a stop, your body keeps flying forward. And what we usually see on some of the files that we get is the driver and the front passenger are the one who are killed or catastrophically injured. It's because someone is flying headfirst into the back of their head. And just to show you an example of that, the test dummy in the back is not wearing a seatbelt. They go flying into the back of the head of the person in front of them. They have a head injury, back injury. Their leg is struck up against the back of the front seat as well. But now take a look at the same crash test, same severity, but now all of a sudden the person in the back is wearing their seatbelt. Your legs will still engage with the back of the seat, but at least your head doesn't hit anything. You protect your head. Not only that, you protect your friends and family that you love in the front seat from sustaining any injury. And last but not least, this was a crash test that was done of a vehicle rollover, where you have 6 crash test dummies that are not wearing their seatbelts. So what you'll see is one person goes up, he doesn't even come back down. That person's head gets hit by the wheel. One person goes out at 45 degrees. That is all. I just want to quickly conclude by saying, please wear your seatbelts, especially if you're in the back seat. Please do it. If you love the people who are sitting in front of you, you would do that. You would do that for them. And as much as possible, be as attentive as possible on the road. Don't use your cell phones. Don't play with the radio. Don't play with anything. Don't read. Don't put on makeup. Don't do any of that. It can literally mean the difference between life and death. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow, what a powerful presentation by Sammy. Thank you, Sammy, from GAYA-KACHEE Engineering. I'm never going to take my seatbelt off ever again, and I hope everybody here takes the same lesson back home. So next we have a very favorite, my personal favorite MP with us, Harinder Mali, and I will ask her to please come and say a few words about the event today, especially on the seatbelt awareness. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for having me here today to Law Office. You're always so hospitable by having us here and giving us an opportunity to meet with the community and talk to the community. And I also want to thank you for your service, because this is truly a service to our community, to give them information, much needed information to make our roads safer, which is a priority. It's a priority for our government. It's a priority for all of us to keep our loved ones safe and to make sure they come home at the end of the night. So thank you for taking the opportunity to have this event tonight and to be offering this information to us. I want to also wish you well in all of the endeavors that you've taken on, because with everything that you give back to the community, you truly make it a better place to be. As the minister responsible for the status of women in Ontario, and as well as being the MPP for Brampton Springdale, thank you again for all of your hard work and your dedication to our community. Have a great night, everyone.
My name is Mohammad Aftab Alam and you're watching Toronto 360 TV.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आज अतिया सिद्दीकी फ्रॉम आलम लॉ ऑफिस आपको वेलकम कर रही है हमारे सेफ्टी अवेयरनेस सेमिनार में। और हम ये अवेयरनेस सेमिनार हम इसलिए ज़रूरी समझते थे आज करवाना, क्योंकि पिछले दिनों जो हादसात हमारी कम्युनिटी में हुए हैं उसकी रोशनी में इट वाज रियली इम्पॉर्टेंट टू एजुकेट आवर कम्युनिटी हाउ इम्पॉर्टेंट इट इज़ टू ड्राइव सेफली, हाउ इम्पॉर्टेंट इट इज़ टू बकल अप। एंड आलम लॉ ऑफिस क्योंकि हमेशा इस तरह की चीज़ों में इन्वॉल्व रहते हैं, तो हमने समझा कि ये ज़रूरी है कि हम इस तरह के टॉपिक के ऊपर भी बात करें ताकि हमारी कम्युनिटी में इसकी अवेयरनेस आए, स्पेशली यूथ के लिए। और हमने आज यहाँ पे आपके लिए बहुत अच्छी अच्छी प्रेजेंटेशंस रखी हैं जो कि आपको बहुत यूज़फुल लगेंगी। और थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर कमिंग। एंड डॉक्टर तलहा कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
मैं सारी अतिया की बातों को सेकंड करूँगा और जिसमें सिर्फ एक चीज़ मैं ऐड करूँगा कि हमारी एक मैं मैसेज देना चाहूँगा। हमारी जो यूथ है जो कि अक्सर मैंने देखा है कि सीट बेल्ट्स नहीं पहनते हैं पीछे बैठकर, तो आगे बैठ के तो पहन लेते हैं क्योंकि दूर से नज़र आता है तो डर के मारे पहनते हैं, बट पीछे बैठ के ज़रूर सीट बेल्ट्स को लगाइए। उसकी वजह यह है कि ये सीट बेल्ट है तो छोटी सी चीज़, लेकिन ये आपकी बिल्कुल जान बचा सकती है। हमारे पास बहुत सारे ऐसे वाक़यात हुए हैं कि पीछे सीट बेल्ट नहीं थी और वो लोग अपनी जान से हाथ धो बैठे, उसमें 99.99% यूथ है। तो मेरा मैसेज है यूथ के लिए कि हर वक्त पीछे बैठें, आगे बैठें, ऑलवेज़ यूथ सीट बेल्ट्स। बैक होम छोड़ दीजिए कि हम वहाँ पे सीट बेल्ट नहीं लगाते थे, तो सीट बेल्ट हमारी सेफ्टी है। तो अब इसके आगे जो हमारी प्रेजेंटेशन होगी उसको आप हमें ज्वाइन करिएगा और आपको और एज अ लॉयर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, एज अ पुलिस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू और CMP पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, हर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आपको इसके बारे में मिलेगा।
Hi, my name is Erin Abbott. I work at Alam Law Office. I'm a part of Team Alam Law Office, and we're having a seminar today on safety for seatbelts, which we all know is an extremely important thing because it can definitely save a life. We have a lot of cases, even a recent one, where a very young girl was thrown through the windshield because she was not wearing a seatbelt, and if she had been, she would have been alive today. And speaking from personal experience, I was in a car accident myself, and I lost my mother at an extremely young age. I was 17, and she was ejected from the car because she was not wearing a seatbelt. And had she been wearing a seatbelt, she would have been alive today. So I definitely think like having information about wearing seatbelt and how it should be worn and making sure that it's in the right condition and not twisted, I think it's extremely important to have knowledge and information about it because like I said, it's extremely important in order to save a life. It can really like help you in preventing injuries, serious injuries as well, especially if you go through the windshield, you can really like injure your head and everything. My mom herself was brain dead at the scene of the accident because she was not wearing a seatbelt. So again, like I think it's really important for all of us as a community to really understand and be careful and spread the knowledge about seatbelt and its safety. So yes, everyone should really learn more about it. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Laurencia Fasoyura. I'm a lawyer at Alam Law Office. I've been working with Alam Law for about 5 years now, and I've been practicing law for about 15 years. Today we're here to talk about seatbelt safety and how important it is for people to wear their seatbelts. Sometimes we take it for granted. You get in the car, you start driving, and you don't think to put on your seatbelt. Even if you're going for a short drive to the store, it's very important for you to put on your seatbelt. Because we as lawyers, we deal with clients every day that are involved in accidents, some of them very serious accidents that could result in fatality. And if you don't put on your seatbelt, it could be a very serious accident. So it's very important for you to just take a moment and buckle up, put on your seatbelt. Even if you are a passenger in the back seat or in the front seat, it's very important for you to put on your seatbelt. Just take a moment. And if you don't put it on, you can also get a ticket by the police officers. And we don't want that to happen. And if you have children, it's very important for you to make sure that the children are wearing their seatbelt, because sometimes we as parents, when we get in the car, we tell the kids, put on your seatbelt, but we don't even make sure that they've put it on. Sometimes they'll tell us that they have it on and they don't have it on. So it's very important for you to please check on your children before you start driving to make sure that they all have their seatbelts on. Let them start the good habit of putting on their seatbelt from when they're young, so that as they get older, they will know that it's very important to put on their seatbelt. And let's all be a good example to the children and to the teen that we should all put on our seatbelts, okay? So make sure the children are buckled up, and buckle up yourself as well, all right? Thank you.
Keep watching Toronto 360 TV. We will be back right after commercial break.
Keep watching Toronto 360 TV. We'll be right back after the commercial break.